Hey, you guys, it's your boy Josh Vision. I'm here to bring to you my Vikings Season 4, well, Season 4B, Episode 11 review. The episode was entitled The Outsider. So, excuse me. So, before I get to this episode, I want to say a few things that I liked about this episode and a few things that I disliked about this episode. Um, what I liked about this episode was how we see that the boys are very skilled. That, you know, remember, Ragnar's been gone for, I'm assuming, between 8 to 10 years. So I, at first, you know, if I just started watching, Vikings, whatever, and even if that wasn't the case, I would assume that the boys would be a little bit more concentrated, or I don't know, just drinking and enjoying themselves, whatever, you know, because it seems like that was the case in the previous episode. It seemed like all they did was hunt, all that good stuff. And also remember, you have Victor saying that if Ragnar ever decided to come back, I'm gonna kill that son of a bitch. Same thing with Sigurd. And Ube's kind of in the middle. It's kind of like, well, if this is true, about the whole thing with Radar, lying about the settlement and all that shit, then I hope he doesn't come back. The only ones that seem to be, supporting their father would be Ivar and Bjorn. And as we've seen from the mid-season finale, Ragnar straight alpha their ass. Like, they were scared little brats, whatever. But yeah, going back to what I said, I enjoy the fact that they seem to be very capable warriors, all four of them, even Ivar. Um, what I liked about this episode is the introduction into Lagatha's new female lover named Astrid. She seems very interesting, and I'm curious what her role is going to be in the series as the season continues on. The same thing with the servant girl, Margaret. I also enjoyed the whole conversation that Ragnar had with both Lagatha and Floki, which I will go more in depth about when I recap this episode. And the things that I disliked about this episode was there was very little Bien, and I want to see more of King Harold and his brother, as well as King Egbert and the whole deal with Wessex and Alfred after all these years, and even Magnus, um, who was the son of Queen Kay and Ragnar. But yeah, I'm sure there'll be more action in the next episode. So now that here or there, so let's get to the recap of events this episode. So the episode begins with, pretty much with the cliffhanger of the mid-season finale, with Ragnar pretty much jamming his sword on the ground, saying, "Who wants to be king?" So obviously, Vixert is like, "Fuck this! I didn't know Daddy was still Daddy. I thought he would have got softer all these times. I don't want none of this, dude. I don't want this, dude." Ivar just looking on, taking in everything Ragnar is saying about, what kind of man betrays his people, what kind of father abandons his sons. So at one point, we have Ragnar pretty much say to Sigurd, "Do you want to be king, Sigurd?" And Sigurd pretty much is just standing there. He's not like second guessing or be a little bit scary like Victor, but he's scared, but he has a better tough face, if you like to call it. Keeps on calling, and then he goes to Uba. He's like, "Do you want to be Do you want to be king, Uba?" And Uba doesn't say anything. You could tell through Uba's eyes like he doesn't want to do this. I mean, he doesn't want to fight his father. And even when Ragnar's trying to leave, Ube reluctantly steps up to the plate. And Ragnar looks with that spark like, so you want to step up to daddy. Huh? So Ragnar comes closer to Uba. He's like, "Remember, if you kill me, you are king." And he tells people, "King Uba." And then he slaps the shit out of Uba like twice. He's like, "Well, you afraid? Be a man." And Uba's just eating those shits. Like, is that all you got? And it seems like they're going to fight, but Uba doesn't want to. Ragnar can sense it, and Ragnar doesn't want to fight either. So they embrace whatever, and Ragnar's like, I missed you, son. The same thing, what Uba said, I missed you, father. And then Bien comes, and Bien's like, why did you, why did you decide to come back? And then Ragnar has that smirk. So the next scene we have is father and children, pretty much next to this big ass tree, and Bien lets Ragnar know that one of his fellow Vikings, whatever, that came by, I would assume at least a day or two ago, prior to this event, said that told them all about the settlement and how Ragnar has sired a child with Queen K, and his name is Magnus. It seems like Ragnar is kind of like, he doesn't really believe that the kid is his, because we all know how freaky Queen K was. Then again, you could probably say that Ragnar probably, did believe it, but he just found it funny that he had a kid with her, you know. He also mentions that so that he pretty much says that he says that to Bien. So that's how you guys found out about the settlement. And Ragnar's like, and Bien's like, mm-hmm. And Bien asks once again, why do you come back? And Ragnar's like, I came back to see how my sons have grown. What became of my sons. And then you have Vixert looking at Ube, and Ube just had a little smirk on his face. And Sigurd, noticeably, when Ragnar got up and said this, Sigurd was shook. Sigurd was all like putting his hands, becoming his head, like had his chest all puffed out, whatever. But you could tell that dude was scared. As soon as Ragnar made a movement, Sigurd was back the fuck off. But yeah, and Björn's like, and Ragnar's like, and I'm going back to England. So, who wants to join me? You, Vixer? Vixer's silent. You, Ube? Ube's like, no. Sigurd? He's also silent, but he's also scared to share his father. And Björn doesn't say anything. And Ragnar's like, I could tell by your reaction, by your expression, Björn, you don't want to go either. And Björn tells Ragnar his reason behind it, saying that he found a map, to the Roman Empire, and talking about the Mediterranean Sea and how he wants to go, he wants to go there because there's so many more interesting peoples and towns and places. And in a sense, he's pretty much saying, I'm tired of going to England when we keep on fighting the same stupid wars with no result or benefit for us. I want to do something new, And Ragnar says, how far are you with your plans? And Bien, at this point, is a little bit frustrated. He's saying, listen, Floki's building the boats, and Vixer has agreed to join me along with King Harold and his brother. And Ragnar is cool with this at this point. And then he looks at the other two brothers. He's like, what about you two? Why aren't you guys sailing with your brother? And Ube is like, listen, the reason why we're not sailing with them because Kattegat is like a real major trading center now since you quote unquote been away. So we think it's noble of us to stay and protect it. Protect our mother as well. And you could tell it was kind of a shot at Ragnar because he left. Without any care or thought about protecting their mother and them for that sense. And Ragnar's like, you are right for thinking of family. So you could tell Ragnar that really did hit Ragnar. So when that was said, the boys kind of disperse. So I believe the next scene is we have Lagatha training with her new female lover, Astrid. And it was a pretty good little training session. But, you could tell Astrid, she's a fighter, But this is very much on some Star Wars shit, a.k.a. like Qui-Gon Jinn, Obi-Wan Kenobi type style, in which it's like, you may be good, but I am the master. Because like this showed Astrid, I am the master. She could have broke her leg, could have broke her arm during numerous occasions during that little grappling fight. So, like this says, I just want to make you ready. And Astrid's like, I am ready. Aren't you? And Lacta's like, I don't know. I'm still filled with doubt about continuing forward. So you don't know at this point what she means by that. So the next scene is that we have Ragnar meet up with Floki. Well, Ragnar first scaring Helga, from behind. And Helga's all like, "Is that you, Ragnar?" Ragnar's like, "Yeah, it's me." He's like, "Say, it's like you see the ghost." And she's like, "Have I?" So we have these quick little scenes with Ragnar, Floki, and Helga. So we're catching up. So Ragnar says to Floki, "This is the sleekest, you know, boat you ever made, my friend." And Floki's like saying, "Well, I had a lot of time to improve, you know, my craftsmanship, take all the good stuff, take all the bad stuff." And Ragnar's saying, "It's kind of ironic that you used to build boats for me, but now you give the best boat you ever had to my son Bien." And it's kind of ironic and fitting in an annoying way. So once again, Ragnar, like in the sagas, Ragnar is very jealous when it comes to his sons, them doing better than him and all that good stuff. And Floki lets Ragnar know, "Listen, I would have built this for you, Ragnar, but you left." So the next scene, we have Ragnar, Helga, Floki eating. And Ragnar mentions to Floki that I have to go back to England. I do. And Floki's like, "You should have went back a long time ago." And he also mentions to Ragnar, "You don't have to. You don't. You no. You're not the only one that has to bear the sins of the whole settlement and the massacre. I knew about it. I knew you killed that guy that came back from the settlement and told us about it, but I didn't say anything. I chose that." And Ragnar's like, "Why?" And Helga says, "Because he loves you. Floki loves you. He always loved you." And that's always been the case. So when I heard that and saw Ragnar's expression, here's the way I viewed it. One side of me is like, did Ragnar really think Floki did not love him? Was it one of those cases in which someone loves you, but due to the fact you always use them to a certain extent or manipulate them, you know what I mean? That you become, it, but someone has to sort of hit you upside the head, whether verbally or physically, in order for you to be reminded of that? Because I always thought Ragnar knew Floki loved him. Then again, maybe that is the case. Maybe he thought Floki was like a really cool friend, whatever. But I think he probably loved him to that extent. Maybe that was the case. But Ragnar's face did seem a little bit shocked, or a little bit perturbed, a little bit surprised. So I believe the next scene we had Bien speaking with the seer. So Bien mentions to the seer that seemed like my father has returned, but I don't know if he should have came back. And the seer pretty much lays the gauntlet down to Bien. "Listen, your daddy returning back to Kattegat is going to bring death, destruction, calamity, and all that stuff. And the gods are going to be wailing during this time." And Bien's like, "Okay, I'm not afraid." And the seer's like, "Oh, you will be. You will curse the day he returned." So Bien's like, "Well, tell me. Come on, tell me about these tragedies, deaths, all the stuff that's going to happen, or calamities." And the seer's like, "Go away, Bien, on our side. I told you enough." And Bien is frustrated. He's annoyed. He did the same frustration facial gesture that Ragnar does. He doesn't get what he wants, the answer what he wants. And he's like, "Come on, tell me a little bit." And Seer once again says, "The gods will be wailing. That's all I can tell you." So after this scene, we have Bjorn going back to his house, and we see him with his wife Torvi. And damn, Torvi has been a baby making machine during the years Ragnar's been away. It seems like she has at least 4 or 5 kids at this point. And Bjorn mentions to Torvi about Ragnar wanting to go back to England, and saying that's all he's thinking about right now. That's his tunnel vision. And Torvi's like, "But isn't that the right thing to do to avenge the people?" And Bjorn's like, "No. Ragnar always wants things his way. He always wants people to do things his way, his view, his perspective, all that shit. Like, that used to work back then, but not now." Essentially saying, "Fuck that. This is my time. I'm the successor, so we're going to do things the way I want to do it." So, after that, we have this whole thing with Floki and Ragnar, in which Ragnar's about to leave, And hell, actually before that, I think there was a scene in which Ragnar woke up late and he missed breakfast, and he's kind of told Helga, "Why didn't you wake me up for breakfast?" And they're kind of flirting a little bit, and we see Floki listening in the conversation and him trying to use the hammer to hit the nail on the boat, whatever, and he misses, hits his stump. And we see Ragnar and Helga exchange glares and all that shit. So I'm wondering if they slept with each other. I'm pretty sure something happened. Then again, we'll probably know about it in some deleted scene from this season, probably 5 months from now and shit. So I ain't gonna dwell on it that much. So pretty much back to the last conversation between Ragnar and Floki. And Ragnar says to Floki, I don't think I'm gonna make it to Valhalla. And Floki's like, are you kidding me? All the accomplishments you've done, whatever, like everything you've accomplished, you of all people should go to Valhalla. And Ragnar isn't too sure about it, you know. And he tells Floki, watch over my children, you know, and watch over Helga because you don't deserve her. And Ragnar meant that shit to his heart's fullest content. And he says to Floki, I love you. And when he said that, and Floki's reaction, you can finally say, well, damn, it took 4 seasons, but Ragnar finally did it. Just as the viewer watching, you're like, finally, like, we could finally get this chapter closed off. You know what I mean? Closed. You know what I mean? Floki finally got the acknowledgement he wanted from Ragnar. Through his jealousy of Athelstan, the murder, Ragnar almost killing Floki, then due to Athelstan's spirit, saving him at the last minute. The whole thing, Ragnar saving Floki from drowning in Paris and all that stuff, and lifting the boats to the mountains and shit. Yeah, so everything is finally good between best friends. Now, the way I interpreted that, Ragnar is going to die this season. You know what I mean? Like, there's no reason to try to cloak the way it was done. Especially with the whole like the conversation later. This has to be Ragnar's last hurrah. So anyways, you have Floki say, I love you too, Ragnar Lothbrok. I love you too. And then, like, tears coming out of Floki's eyes. So we go to Hedeby, speaking of Lagertha. We see Ragnar coming in, and we see Astrid. And Astrid is flirting with Ragnar. And Ragnar's like, who are you? You fine as hell, but who are you? And she says that her wet nurse told her all about Ragnar's successes and all that stuff. And Ragnar's like, wet nurse? How do I know her? You're old enough to be my child. So from there you could say she's probably literally around Ube, Vixert, Ivar, and Sigurd's age. Or at least Ube and Vixer's age, because she seems older than Ivar and Vixert. Give or take. Anywho, we see Lagertha come. And Ragnar is all like, ooh, Lagertha. Then he puts 2 and 2 together with his facial expressions. And Lagertha tells Astrid to leave. And Ragnar's like, are you two together? And Lagertha's all like, what do you want, ex-husband? Pretty much telling him, listen, my life, we're separated. So fuck off, and let's just get to business about why you're here. So once again, like with Floki, we have this interesting conversation between the two, in which Lagertha's pretty much telling Ragnar, pretty much saying, you accomplished so much, but you didn't tell us about the settlement and all this other shit. And she was rightfully pissed off about that. And Ragnar was trying to ask for a little bit of forgiveness about that, saying it was his fault, obviously. And she was like, you know what? We did agree on most of your ideas. Most of them didn't work. Once again, Lagertha's being blunt. So she asked about their son, Bien, and Ragnar says he's his own man now. He has his own plans about sailing to the Mediterranean. So we have Ragnar pretty much telling Lagertha in a heartfelt moment, forgive me for all my faults, all the things that I did wrong to you. Please forgive me. And Ragnar's about to leave, and Lagertha pulls him in for a kiss. And once again, this felt kind of like a final chapter, like with Floki in a sense, that this will be the last time Ragnar sees Lagertha and Floki in this life. And the next scene, we have locked up. They have a makeout session with Asteroid. They have sex. Do da day. Who gives a shit? And anyways, we see Ragnar returning back to Kattegat, and we see him see a big ass tree, and he tries to hang himself, but it doesn't work because the crows gnaw at the ropes, and he survives. And when Ragnar falls from the tree, Ragnar's like, "Damn, Jesus Christ, please, just, I just want to die," you know. Um, After that, we have the boys, and the boys, pretty much Ube, Vixert, Sigurd, Ivar, and their mother Queen Aslog eating, and Ivar's like, "So father is going to England. So why aren't you guys going?" And he pretty much goes around the table. He says Vixer, and Vixer is quiet. Vixer ain't gonna answer him, you know. Um, you can just tell already that Vixer is quiet. He's never gonna let everyone know what his true thoughts are. He's quiet. That's one attribute or trait he got from Ragnar. So when it came to Ube's like, "I already told you. Now shut up." Then Ivar was like, "All right, okay. What about you, Sigurd?" And he's like, "Are you afraid of being seasick?" And Sigurd's like, "I'm not afraid of anything, brother." And then Ivar's like, "Not even me?" And just when he does that close up of Ivar's face, I was starting to shit bricks. That dude was scary as fuck. You see Sigurd's reaction. You could tell Sigurd's scared. And he looks at his brothers. And we see this servant girl come. I think her name is Margaret. And Ivar's liking up Margaret, that ass, that body. He starts touching up on her. And Uba's like, "Listen, come on, man, chill with that." And I was like, "What? She's just a slave. You want her. All you guys want her anyways. Especially you, Ube." You know what I mean? And Ube doesn't say anything. He looks at Aslog, and Aslog gives that little smirk. You know what I mean? Like, it's true, but I'm not going to say anything. So, after that, we have this badass training session, which I mentioned earlier. And the boys pretty much training. So, Ube and Ivar are doing a little bit of archery at a deer's head. Well, at a deer or whatever. So, Ube looks away, looks straightly at Ivar, shoots the arrow, gets the deer straight in the head. And then Ivar's like, "I could top that." Ivar shoots that shit, and it goes straight into the deer's eye. And Ube's like, "Wow, that was a good shot." Congratulate his brother. And then we have Vixer and Sigurd fighting using axes and sword, whatever. And you can tell Vixer is definitely a better fighter than Sigurd. Even though Sigurd is no slouch, Vixer definitely had the advantage. And at one point, Sigurd was just sort of laughing about it, just sort of taunting Sigurd about it a little bit. So Ivar shoots an arrow in between the brothers, pretty much get attention, pretty much saying, "My turn." You know? So Vixer and Ivar go at it with swords. And Ivar proves that in terms of swordsmanship, he's pretty much as good as Vixer, if not a little bit better. And afterwards, Vixer and him sort of give each other a little bit of respect, and they sort of clash swords. And Sigurd's jealous, giving Ivar a little look, and Ivar just smiling like, "I'm better than you." And I'm a cripple. So, so Ube tries to pour Ivar a drink, and Sigurd throws the axe, hand the drink out of Ivar's hand. And I was like, "Fuck that shit." Ivar throws an axe, and it hits the tree, but it skims Sigurd's head, and blood trickles down. Sigurd gives that look like, "What the fuck? You almost killed me." And just the look, the intensity on Ivar was just cray-cray. And after that, we have a scene where the boys are pretty much fishing, and Ivar, pretty much is on the beach, and you can tell that, the cripple is, the difficulty of being a cripple. He really can't do things that his brothers, want. I mean, that his brothers can do, with the fishing, and also with Ivar, watching his brothers pretty much like in different situations, fucking, the servant girl, Margaret. You got Ube having Margaret ride him and shit. At one point, Ube's like, "What's your name again?" Then you have Vixer going down on Margaret, and then fucking her, and then you have Sigurd and Margaret going at it in the woods and shit. So Ivar's just like, it just just his brother's experiences, whatever, and him being a cripple, it really enforced the fact that Ivar, is really frustrated, rightfully so, you know, not being able to really do anything without the use of his legs. So he tells his brothers, um, all of you guys have slept with a servant girl. I want to sleep with a servant girl. And Victor's like, all right, shit, just do it. We'll just give her to you. You know what I mean? And then Uba's like, listen, she's not Castle. She's a human being. We will ask her. And he asks once again, what is her name again? And I believe Sigurd's like, her name is Margaret. And then Ivar's like, oh, that's great. You're going to ask the servant girl to sleep with our poor crippled brother. And Uba's like, listen, you're not a cripple. You are the son of the great Ragnar Lothbrok. That holds weight, my brother. So pretty much after that, we get this whole elaborate setup. We have the brothers asking her. She ultimately agrees. And we have this nice setting that they set up and shit. It was lovely. It was romantic as fuck. No pun intended. What the fuck? So, we have Ivar and Margaret making out. Seems like everything's going good. And then we have Ivar doggy style on her. But for some reason, he's not getting hard or whatever. And it's not really like working, even though she's moaning and shit. And he tries to strangle her because he says, I don't want you telling my brothers that I can't please a woman. And she says, I won't tell. And Ivar's like, I don't believe you. So she uses her mind. And she says, listen, the gods will know, though. She's like, the gods? She was saying, they will call you a coward for doing such a cowardly act. And that really made Ivar get emotional. And this was I think the best scene of the whole episode. Because she tells Ivar, pretty much, any man can have sex. Any man can have children. Those are easy things to do. But these things don't define a man. What a man does through action, willpower, that is what defines a true man. You are the son of Ragnar Lothbrok. So you have the talent, the ability to do the great things he has done. Don't let, you having a soft prick, wherever the fuck, just make you do these abominable things. Overcome them. And just with that really made Ivar like really emotional, and it really touched him, And I think at one point they hugged after that. So it's interesting because I wonder, is she gonna be the woman that Ivar has children with? You know what I mean? Like his wife and all that. Because that seems to cause because if that's the case, that seems to cause a conflict because it seemed like she's really feeling Ube at the same time Sigurd. So that should be interesting. So, what else happened in this episode? No, I think that's pretty much about it, you guys. But anyways, great episode. Great season opener for season 4B. Thank you guys for watching this video. Like the video if you can. Subscribe to my channel. Rest of the comments down below. And once again, this is your boy Josh Vision. And have an awesome day.